everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. I have with us today, he's a director, and he has a short film that's out in the festival circuit right now, and it's called White Gaze. I have my man, ETA. ETA, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thanks for having me, Travis. Pleasure to be on.
And it's great having you on. So tell us a little bit about White Gaze.
Yeah, it's a short film that we made sometime last summer, and it's a gentrification horror film. So it focuses on a neighborhood just outside of downtown LA that's predominantly working class and Latino. And there's a situation where Latin 20-something has to have a white femme move in, and things go crazy after that.
And that's a powerful concept for a movie, because gentrification is definitely, I live in Baltimore, and gentrification is something that is happening all across the country. Mm-hmm. Now what gave you some inspiration to go with this topic for your movie?
Well, for me, all my work, whether it's genre or horror, I like to focus on racial and social justice issues. That's the central part of all my creative work. I live in the neighborhood that the movie's based around. So I've seen over the last near decade the process happening, and over the last couple of years, and especially after quarantine, it's really accelerated. So just being here, seeing the shifts, being a part of this community, I really wanted to do something that was authentic to the experience and that highlighted the situation going on, especially around Los Angeles. Like you said, it's a nationwide issue. So it's very relevant. It's very integral to what's going on in the fabric of our society. So it's something I really wanted to highlight.
Now, this is a short film.
Mm-hmm.
Was it hard, because with a short, it comes with a short film, you only have X amount of minutes to compound everything in it.
Yeah.
Was that something when you wrote the script and you started filming, where you're like, oh shit, how the fuck am I going to cut this down?
For sure, yeah. It ended up being a 30-minute short, so I definitely in the editing room had to cut a lot of scenes shorter. And if I really wanted to, with my pacing style, I would have had a near hour film. But we definitely had to streamline some things. I left a lot of details out, unfortunately. But there are conversations to develop into the future. So that's something that hopefully I have the opportunity to delve into the details and expand the world a little bit more, and kind of get into the nitty gritty of this process and this story.
And you're talking about real life fucking horror. We're not talking about fucking a guy with a machete in the woods, which could possibly fucking happen. But you're talking about real life horror, like I was saying, nationwide. There's communities where after generations, minorities have called home, and they're just being uprooted and placed somewhere else, or they're being outpriced. And unfortunately, with one of my day jobs, I work with real estate investors, and they are just coming in and doing flips, and they don't have no respect for these communities at all. They just see dollar signs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing that I really self-reflected on, is because I'm not Latino, so moving here 8-9 years ago, like I said, I've seen the process. I'm around the community. I'm ingratiated, but I am in a way part of the early process of this gentrification, right? And I think one thing that was clear to me, seeing people move in, having a roommate or two that were white, is the awareness of the community, the awareness of the culture and the heritage that surrounds and roots the community, and being appreciative of that and integrating yourself into that, and conversely, shunning it and trying to change things into the way that suits you best. And I think for me, that's a central part of White Gaze, and kind of the differences in the subtleties of gentrification, and upholding some of the value of having that kind of community that's had generations live there.
Now, are you afraid by making such a powerful statement in your short film that you're going to get some backlash?
I love it. You know, that's
especially from white America.
honestly, I've had to learn to be comfortable in those environments where, you know, coming out of a screening or having folks watch it that happen to be white or maybe, you know, not of marginalized communities, and then having to converse with them. I've learned to embrace that, but it is sometimes a little bit touchy. I am audacious, but I'm not always confrontational. So being put in those situations, it has been a process of growth for me, for sure.
Because when you start talking about stuff like this with a percentage of white Americans, they start feeling really uncomfortable, and then they start getting really defensive.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've noticed. But I mean, there's a portion of white America that like realizes what's going on, and they see the issue with it. But it sounds like, but for me, it seems like the ones who get uncomfortable, and become defensive are the ones who you see and hear the most.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by white folks that are advocates and that understand this and are aware of some of the dilemmas and issues of you know, America, and, you know, larger systemic issues. The people that feel uncomfortable, they should feel uncomfortable. You know, that's part of this movie's purpose, is for that uncomfortability to occur in somebody, and maybe that is a seed for them to, you know, that plants awareness in them in the future. Hopefully that's the case.
Because I was actually talking to a friend of mine today about this. Like, at one time, you know, waterfront property was owned majority by African Americans in this country. I mean, I live in Baltimore, Maryland, but like the Eastern Shore in Maryland, that was all black people. You look at Norfolk, Virginia, that was all black people. San Francisco was all black people. And because at one point, white people wanted to live in the cities. And then over time, they wanted that waterfront property. And that's when that's why you don't see no black people on waterfront properties. That's why San Francisco, which was at one time the highest black home owner, had that highest black home ownership in the whole entire country. And I've been to San Francisco, and you don't see a black person in sight.
Really? I mean, there's that movie, right? Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Yes, I mean they're pushed into Oakland.
And now, right, that everyone's getting priced out, Oakland is you know, under fire in the same way. So it's a whole kind of outgrowth that needs to be addressed more properly.
Now, who are some horror filmmakers that you've gotten inspiration from?
You know, there's a few. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest horror buff. I'm definitely a cinephile, but I like auteur cinema, and Friedkin is one of my favorites. The Exorcist for me is a paramount work of horror cinema, because it's so realistic. It's so beautifully shot, has that docu feel to it. I like Ari Aster, Kubrick. Talk to Me was a huge favorite of mine the last year. So those are some of my favorites. Yeah.
Actually, I recently did a top 10 favorite indie horror movies from the last 10 years. And Ari Aster's Midsummer was in the top 10, as well as Talk to Me. Those were two beautifully shot movies, and they made you feel unease from beginning to end. And like, it was just the artistic scene behind them, and it were just beautiful. Just not even as horror movies, they're just beautifully created movies.
They are. They're beautifully shot. They make you uncomfortable. There's a sense of dread and anxiety. I'm just gonna toss a few more now that you're talking about it. I love the Alien franchise, Ridley Scott.
Okay. Yes.
I like, you know, Prometheus. I even like Alien Covenant.
I do too.
I love that was a fun ride, you know. Evil Dead, the 2013 remake, huge fan. And
better than Evil Dead Rise, in my opinion. But yes,
yeah, for sure, it's creepier. And then the Safdie brothers and this last show that Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie did on Showtime called The Curse. For me, it might be a hot take, but that's horror.
I have not seen that. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, check it out, Travis. That's definitely up there for me as like kind of a off kilter horror.
But what I love about this show is, I'm getting to watch it's a boom in indie horror. I've been a horror fan ever since I was 5, so it's in the 80s, and I love this boom, this resurgence of indie horror right now because a lot of people who couldn't afford to be filmmakers or didn't have the technology now can be filmmakers, and they can put their own taste and their own spice and their own spin. So we're seeing a lot more minorities and even women getting into indie horror.
Yeah, there's definitely been a resurgence and an emergence of so many voices that experience real terror and horror in their everyday lives. So there's a new sincerity that's happening in the horror genre that I'm all for. It's a terrifying / beautiful thing to see the spectrum of experiences being portrayed a little bit more these days in horror.
I agree. Now, as a indie filmmaker, what are some? Yes, it's easier now to make films and get your project out there. What are some struggles that you are seeing or running into?
I mean, financing is tough, obviously, and when you want to do something that's maybe a little bit original is, kind of a arbitrary word or, a broad word rather. But when you're trying to do something that's a little distinctive, it's that much more difficult. I think for me, I have a day job. I live a certain lifestyle and I put my money aside so that I can afford to make short films that don't put a total dent in my pocket. And there's compromises there, but I'm not going to wait around and, look for financing. I'm going to try to do it my own way and have creative control and, whatever issues or creative issues that arise, I'm riding with it, We made White Gaze for $5K over 5 days. And you can see the micro budget elements there, but the story is, I feel, resonant and it's told in a authentic way. And when you have some narrative cohesion, I think that's the most important thing. And that doesn't take money. That just takes some discipline and some attention to detail. So
that's what I mean. And yes, it's all about the characters, the character development, and the story. That, to me, you could have. I've seen movies shot with iPhones that were fucking great. And but if you have that good story that connects with the audience, that's something. As someone who's a member of the audience, that is something that captures for me. Now, you were talking about thinking of creative ideas. It's very easy as a indie filmmaker, to go the generic route. Go with what's the proven. Found footage, shaky camera, someone running through the woods, or a slasher. That's the easiest way to go. I mean, listen, it's been successful for decades.
Yeah.
Is it tough to? Is it tough not to go that route? I mean, is it tough to be like, you know what? I'm gonna make this piece about gentrification. It's gonna be something completely fucking different. Is it tough to be like, I'm gonna do something original?
Dude, I knew I threw that word out. That was the first word that came to mind, but I don't try to be original. I just try to write what has meaning for me, what I know. So those are the things that come out. I always try to put a horror spin on things, but that's just maybe by nature and my interest. But I never set out to make something that's distinctive. I just like to hone my voice and use that conduit as a way to express my interests, my ideologies, and hopefully it lands in some type of way with audiences. Like you said, hopefully it connects with audiences. But if it doesn't, oh well, on to the next.
Now, so what got you into filmmaking?
I mean, I've always loved movies. I've grown up watching movies. Only child for a while, latchkey kid for a long time, disconnected from like my extended nuclear family. So movies were the things that kind of helped ground me, but also like took me away from the world. So it's cinema is the centerpiece of my life.
And I wasn't an only child, but like I agree with you. Like for me, I grew up in the video store days, and like movies have always been an escape for me. That's why I still love going to the theaters. I go to the theaters often because it's like an escape from the world is fucking crazy, and like to be able to escape into and indulge yourself into something that's make believe. It's fun. It's a stress relief.
Yeah, I honestly I love all the feelings that any type of movie can kind of give me. I sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit disconnected or detached, I'll watch a really emotionally resonant movie or something that kind of gets my heart flowing, and that is really grounding for me. It kind of resets my my chakras and my karma and my all that stuff. And yeah, movies can do that in ways that a lot of other things can't do for me.
So, what was the last movie that you watched that had you have that feeling that you're like, wow, I feel fucking motivated. I feel like I can take over the world.
Take over the world. Shoot. Let me get me again. Last few movies I saw that were really powerful or moving for me were, let's see, I watched Iron Claw, which was
that's good.
The wrestling biopic. That was it's a beautiful movie. American Fiction was one of the saddest comedies I've seen because it's so rooted in reality. And then recently I watched this one. I'm feeling so like sacrilegious to your audience right now because I'm not.
There's no horror movie that makes you feel like. I'm gonna say there's no. Is there a horror movie out there that makes you feel like you can take over the fucking world? I don't feel like that's. I don't feel like that's what you get.
Right. That's a different breed of person.
Unless you're a serial killer or something. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I had to check my letterboxes to think about what last horror film that really gave me the goosebumps.
But you talk about Midsummer, like Midsummer and Pearl. Also, Midsummer and Pearl are the two movies that like I watch in the theaters, and horror movies that I watch in the theater, and I was just in awe about how beautiful they were.
Yeah. Midsummer is a beautiful film. I gravitate more towards Hereditary, but the Ari Aster canon is pretty cool. They've done some really remarkable things with the horror genre for sure. And I like honestly with Ty West, I enjoyed what's that? Shoot, I can't remember the horror film they made like in the mid 2010 or in the 2010s. House.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
I forget what that's called. I love that one.
I love everything Ty West does.
Yeah,
Ty West is amazing.
I'm just going through my letterbox and trying to find one horror film that I saw recently that I can toss in there to get my street cred up.
Yeah. That got you motivated to kill somebody.
Yeah. The next one. You know what? I did watch this one. It's a European one, and it's called "You Won't Be Alone." Really interesting horror film because they craft this story about a witch who abducts children to maintain their youth, but the way it's made is like I don't know if you're familiar with Terrence Malick. They shoot it like a Terrence Malick film. So like imagine like The Tree of Life or Thin Red Line or Days of Heaven. In any of their movies, they make a horror film, but it's shot and feels like a Terrence Malick film, which was very like unsettling, but also poetic at the same time. Yeah, it was a weird, really weird, compelling experience. But that's the last one.
What's that called again?
You Won't Be Alone.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
So what was the first horror movie you sold as skitter shit out of you.
Scared the crap out of me. Well, I had older cousins growing up, a lot of older cousins. So every Friday night, I'd come up to see my grandparents, and all my older cousins. There were like 7, 8, 9 of them, teenagers, angsty, watching horror films. So I got my share of horror films very early, and I was a little kid. But The Exorcist I saw when I was like 6, and all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I remember. I think that I'm probably as short as I am now because was it Nightmare on Elm Street 2 where Freddy comes from the foot of the bed and grabs the character from the bed and pulls them down under the bed. I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or 3 maybe, I forget.
You're talking about the Johnny Depp scene?
I don't think it was a Johnny Depp scene. Maybe I feel like it might have been in part 2, but.
So I don't rewatch those movies. It's been so long.
Yeah. I love the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Some of the dream sequences in the hallway I still pull from. Like I want to do something like that. But I remember after watching that when I was like 6 or 7, and like for a whole year I would sleep with my knees up. So I blame my average height on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
You know what? I still don't go. I'm fucking 41 years old, and I do not. I've been camping once. Like when I say camping, like in a fucking tent. I've been glamping in like cabins and shit. But I've been talking about an actual fucking tent, and of course with my white friends. But I refuse to go. Like camping equates to me horror movie, getting killed, dying. A bear eating you, something. You know what I mean? Like, is
me and you would be the first.
Exactly. Gone. But I remember like thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, I'm the only black guy in this fucking woods with a bunch of white dudes, and we're fucking camping. I'm definitely gonna fucking die. And like, and I had that in my mind, and it's crazy, like. Recently, it was a couple of years ago. I drove past, and there was this crazy, like hippie couple, and they were hitchhiking. And I went to the gas station. They're like, "Hey, can we give us a ride?" They look like straight serial killers, right? And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." Yeah. And this young white dude, fucking, I look around, and I'm like, I was saying to myself, like, who the fuck is gonna pick up these fucking weirdos and drive them somewhere? And I look around, and this young white dude had them poly in their fucking car. I was like. And he's gonna be fucking dead. Like horror movies has scared me from like doing certain things. I'm glad they have because hitchhiking is fucking absolutely picking up hitchhikers is the like you're asking to be fucking murdered. I know. But like
I'm camping is one person, but picking up hitchhikers, no, I draw a line.
Yeah. But like camping has been one of those things has been a big no to me. And yeah, I remember I went to a party. One of my friends was like, "Hey, we're going to a party," and I was like, "Okay, let's go." There's a lot of chicks there. I'm like, "Okay," and I get there, and we started fucking pulling into the fucking woods. I was like, "Where the fuck are we going?" He was like, and there was a party in the fucking woods, and I was like, "Oh hell, let me get the fuck out of here!" And I'm like, "It's just not me."
Yeah. White folks, they don't got fear sometimes.
I can't fucking do it, man. I can't fucking do it. Like, yeah, horror movies have scared me from doing a lot of shit.
I always like, without fail, sometimes, you know, like I'll just find myself in a situation. I'll just put the scenario. I'll spin it into a horror film.
Exactly, every single time.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, this seems like a horror movie.
It's like an instinct, yeah. You know, it makes life more exciting though. Sometimes, you know, like, ooh, what if?
It does. Everything's a fucking horror movie. Like if I'm in my house right now, if I hear somebody banging on my door screaming, I'm not answering the fucking door. Like, why would I answer my fucking door? Like, who am I? I'm not fucking John Wick or something. Like, no, like, go run and knock on somebody else's door that's going to play hero and save you. I'm not doing that.
That's definitely something I often think about, and I want to subvert in my future work. Is like, I want rational thinking in all my my projects. It makes it creatively tougher, but you know the payoff and like your respect for your audience is so much more appreciated when you can have rational thinking characters
Exactly.
still survive, or you know maybe not, maybe they get to a certain point, but at least you know there's a realism there, and like you can relate, you know.
I mean, who is living in Haddonfield in the town where Halloween, Michael Myers happens, and they still leave their fucking doors locked? You know, I know they leave the doors locked. You know, every fucking year Michael Myers comes by for Halloween and kills people.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving your fucking door? Actually, why are you even in town during Halloween? Like, if I lived in that town, by the way, I would have done sold my house. But if I didn't, I would go on vacation for that whole week of Halloween. Like, that would be vacation time.
Right, you know, rent out your house, get some Airbnb money, and then get out, come back.
Exactly, and it'd be a bloody mess when you come back.
yeah. And why don't they have like at least a bat by their bed or anything? These, hey,
I don't know, but it's weird watching the Halloween movies, and he's able to just open people's doors and just come in the back like, who the fuck is leaving their fucking door unlocked in Murder Town? Like, I don't get that.
Some people are just stubborn, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. But it's no common sense. Like, I listen, I want to see some more horror movies where people actually have common sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, as you know, this is a horror channel. So I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions. You ready?
Sure. I'm going to try to live up to the horror realm test.
Yes. The first one, what iconic horror character do you feel like you relate to the most?
Relate to the most. You know what? I'm gonna say I feel like there's a part of me that relates to Freddy the most because, you know, I got this really sinister part of my psyche, but I'm also a goofball.
I relate to Freddy too because I am a vengeful person. not on that part, but think about it. Freddy is killing people's fucking kids for what their fucking parents did to him. Mm-hmm. Like, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I feel that actually now that you frame it that way, I'm a Scorpio, so I always remember the people that have wronged me.
But he's like, fuck you, I'm not gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill your fucking kids. Like, it's fucked up.
I'm gonna come back and your generation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's some real vindictive stuff right there.
That's some good shit right there. That's some good fucking payback. All right. The second question. A big budget studio comes up to you right now and backs up the Brinks truck. They say they want you to reimagine or reboot a iconic horror movie. Which one is going to be?
That's an interesting story because I just did a pitch deck for a feature that hopefully will get greenlit. But in my synopsis of it, I said I want to make a movie that Jonathan Glazer or David Fincher directed. As if Jonathan Glazer or David Fincher directed the 2000s Aaliyah movies. So I was thinking like Queen of the Damned, like if somebody put a real sincere, cinematic, well-crafted touch to that film with a good script and a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's what I would want to go see.
Because Queen of the Damned, I saw the promise in that movie. But like the delivery was definitely off.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, they said because Aaliyah died halfway through the movie or something, so they had to like cut a lot of. They had to cut with the script because
I didn't have her. Yeah, I didn't know that actually. Huh.
Yeah, she passed away like during the filming of that movie, so they had to like alter some of the story.
Yeah.
So it definitely it seems like an incomplete movie because it was an incomplete movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like not necessarily Queen of the Damned, but like there's some There's some movies. There's so many 2000s movies that had so much potential to just be, tweaked and refined by maybe like a slightly more competent director that would have been lit. But damn, that's a tough one off the top of my head. I'm just gonna stick with that and imagine it with somebody else remake it. Still a black and brown film, of course.
But that's a smart move, though, because a lot of filmmakers, they go and reboot a horror movie that was great. You know what I mean? And then it turns out their reboot is bad because you're trying to reboot something that was already amazing.
Yeah.
Why not reboot a movie that was poorly made, a horror movie that was poorly made?
Yeah.
And do it better.
Yeah, I was before you just said, I was thinking about Thomas Alfredson, who did Let the Right One In, that vampire film, and that's exactly the sentiment they said. Like, why did Matt Reeves make Let Me In when my movie was already good? I feel like people should make movies that are shitty.
Exactly.
Remake movies that are shitty,
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder why more filmmakers don't think that way.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you already got the premise, you already got the story there. You just make it better,
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, too, to, like, put a spin on something that's already good or great, the low bar is a lot easier.
It is. like remake Killer Clowns from Outer Space or something, Like, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. I mean, all right. The last question. What is one horror movie that people claim that they say, oh, it's the greatest thing ever, and you've watched it and you're like, I don't fucking see it.
Oh, shoot. You're gonna we might not be friends after this. But I'm not a huge fan of Pearl, or what's the follow-up?
X.
I'm not a huge fan of those films.
Oh, really? I fucking love those movies.
And you know what? I like The Craft. For me, it's just my preference that I like my horror films sincere, brutal, and uncomedic.
Okay.
So that's the only preference. I think it's, for what it is, it's actually really cool. I understand why people like it, but for me, my cup of tea is, direct, bloody,
you like straight up Terrifier type shit.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, how dark can we go? That's, nobody's laughing.
See, but I like that type of shit. I do enjoy that shit, but and maybe it's because I'm getting older or whatever, but I like a little more story and character development with my horror now. Like, I love the fucking over the top gore. I love that, but I have to feel something for the victims. I can't just have victims in the movie and they're just fucking pieces.
I'm listening.
I like to even know something.
Sorry, my Siri is eavesdropping in our horror conversation. Oh. Fascinating. No, yes. For me, I think, like you said, there's this line between gratuitous violence. I don't want to glamorize things. I don't want to do things that are, glamorizing, violence against femmes or anything of that nature. I want to make sure that the stakes are real and we see what violence can create, and the repercussions of that. So there needs to be character development and investment, and the violence that's portrayed needs to feel like there's stakes involved and people's lives are valuable. And for me, that's really important. With Pearl and X, I think it does a great job of creating a character. So kudos to that. But a lot of these films, for me, I don't like seeing bloodshed. I value life, So unless it's for a reason, it's not funny for me.
Yeah. And when it comes to my horror, I love a good revenge story too.
For sure.
I like to not be on the side of the killer, but understand. Like we were talking about Freddy Krueger. Yeah. I like to understand where the killer is coming from.
Mhm.
My biggest problem with Candyman is I never understood why Candyman was killing black people. I never understood that about Candyman. Like he was wrong by white people, so you would think that he would be killing white people for the majority of the time, but he was killing poor black people in the projects, and I just never understood that.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe there was like a resentment there that they projected. Yeah.
I've had a whole debate about this for years, and
Yeah.
we cannot come up with the answer. But like, it's just like if he was killing races with white people, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm on the Candy. I get why Candyman is doing this. You know,
I guess that makes sorry. That makes him. If they were to do that, that would make him a protagonist, which makes it a little bit more difficult to build a horror, right?
That's true. That's true, but it was just make. I mean, even with when it comes to Jason, like I don't side with Jason, but I understand where Jason's coming from. At the end of the day, Camp Council led to his demise. They killed his mother.
Mm-hmm.
They're trespassing on his property.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Yeah.
But like, bring it back to Terrifier. I can't watch a movie where there's a killer just killing people and you don't know nothing about him. He's just killing. Like, I know that's how killers. I mean, even real life killers in this world, they have a backstory. You know what I mean? They were traumatized. They were molested as a child. They saw violence. Something happened to get them to that point.
Yeah.
I need to know where that killer, how that killer became a killer. It doesn't have to be a long, stretched out thing. I just need a little bit about this is why he's killing.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of leans into everyone's fascination with serial killers. We want to understand people's psyches and what created the urge to kill, and what were the situations that arose in that person's psyche that created this person. So I mean, we're all fascinated by that because it kind of is a mirror for us to look into.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, okay, this is how not to be a serial killer,
And I can relate to this.
Yes, I know. But for some reason, I never jumped to that ship,
Like myself.
ETA, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm on IG. I'm on TikTok. ETA was here. ETAWASHER. Come through. Check out my profile. We got a lot of screenings coming up, and feel free to reach out. I love collaborating. I love talking to people about all types of cinema, horror films, racial and social justice issues. Just love chatting with new friends. Always open to it.
Awesome. Listen, man, you're more than welcome to come on anytime. Listen, everybody, go and follow my man ETA. And if you're out in the film festival circuit this year, look out for White Gaze. Listen, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. Once again, you're more than welcome. Come on anytime.
Thank you, Trey. That was a lot of fun. I apologize to all your podcast listeners out there that I'm not more knowledgeable about the horror films, but please send me a DM and turn me on to some new ones. I'm always open.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, I'm not judging you for that. I'm just judging you for what you said about X and Pearl. Okay, so like,
I appreciate that.
Well, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. See you guys next time. Take care.